Hello everyone, and welcome to my video for the blackborder.com video competition. Today, I'm going to be talking about my Dark Bant deck list that went 4-2 at Originals near me. That was only one match win away from qualifying for Nationals, which I think was pretty good. I've divided the cards up into different piles based on what they do for the deck. The first pile are my 1-drop mana accelerators. Both Noble Hierarch and Birds of Paradise are absolutely essential to kind of making this deck into the explosive powerhouse it can be. Both of these allow me to drop a turn 2 Doran or Rock's Warmonk if played on turn 1. Now a turn 2 5/5 in Doran, essentially, and a turn 2 3/4 lifelink in Rock's Warmonk are both extremely hard to deal with for any deck. Also, neither of these are dead draws later in the game. Noble Hierarch's Exalted ability means that it will always be pumping up my attackers, meaning that if I top deck it, while it definitely could be a bigger creature, it won't be as useless as a land. Birds of Paradise's evasion is extremely important as well. Since very few of my creatures have evasion like this, it is essential to getting through masses of ground creatures. It can be pumped up with Noble Hierarch and Rafiq's Exalted ability, and it will also be pumped by my Wiltleaf Leashes. This section is the beatdown element of the deck. I have Rock's Warmonk and Doran as the two turn 2 drops with Noble Hierarch and Birds of Paradise, both of which are very, very good cards. I also have Wiltleaf Leash, which is very, very good in today's format. Against Blightning, if they Blightning you on turn 3, you have the option to discard a Wiltleaf Leash, getting a free 4/4 off their 3 mana spell, which is very, very strong. Also with Wiltleaf Leash, I have multiple times discarded at least 2 of them off a Cruel Ultimatum, and since the sacrifice part of the Cruel Ultimatum comes before you have to discard cards if you are targeted by it, I do not have to sacrifice either one of the Wiltleaf Leashes that comes into play when I discard them. Rafiq of the Many is probably the strongest card in this deck. Every time a creature of yours attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 and double strike. Combine that with just even a Birds of Paradise, and you have a 1/2 double striker with flying. While with a Doran, on turn 3, you'll be able to do 12 damage all by itself. Now, basically, the perfect curve for this deck would be turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 Doran, turn 3 Rafiq of the Many, and then you swing with Doran for 14 damage on turn 3. There are very, very few decks that can deal with that curve. Unfortunately, we can't always curve out like this. If we could, Magic would be a very boring game. Here, we have my Treetop Village. I'm running 3 of these in the deck, and they are also very, very important. Against 5-color control, you will always have to deal with Wrath of Gods. Wrath of Gods can just destroy you, since it is very hard for this deck to recover. But Treetop Village won't be destroyed by Wrath of God, so even after a successful Wrath, you will still have a 3/3 Trampler. Plus, if you manage to drop a Rafiq of the Many, a Wiltleaf Leash, or a Noble Hierarch before you attack with it the next turn, it will be even bigger. Here, we have probably the most underrated part of the deck, the disruption element, I'll put it. We have Path to Exile for removal, which I'm running 3 of. Unlike Brian Robinson, who made top 8 at Pro Tour Kyoto with a version of this deck, I am only running 3 removal spells. He ran another 4 Nameless Inversions, which means that he could remove a lot more things. Nameless Inversion with Doran is pretty good too, since it's effectively -3/-3. However, I've cut a lot of that removal for Gaddock Teeg. Because the format is so overrun by 5-color control, Gaddock Teeg is a powerhouse main deck. There are very, very few decks that he does not shut off cards for. In the mirror match, yes, he is a very, very bad 2/2. However, against Red Deck Wins, a deck that you might not expect to have anything costing 4 or more, it shuts off Flame Javelin. Against tokens, it shuts off Spectral Possession and Ajani Goldmane, and against 5-color control, it practically shuts out their entire deck, including Broken Ambitions, Cryptic Command, Wrath of God, and Cruel Ultimatum. The last disruption spell is Tide Hollow Sculler, which is extremely important to disrupt any removal they may have. No matter how good your turn 2 Doran is, if it gets Path to Exiled, it's not going to be beating down for you. Turn 2 Tide Hollow Sculler means you can clear the way for any creatures you might want to play later. Now I'm going to be talking about my sideboard for Dark Bant. Here we've got Scattershot Archer, which I board in against fairies and black-white tokens, because it can help clear the skies of Spectral Procession and Bitter Blossom tokens. Also against black-white tokens, I have 3 Riskmare, which can help kill Glorious Anthem, and possibly, if I need to, a Bitter Blossom. The rest of my cards are really devoted to beating 5-color control. 3 Sower of Temptation is very strong against 5-color control, because 5-color control does not run all that much spot removal. They might have 2 or 3 Path to Exiles, but the chances are they'll be burning those on my Dorans and Rafiks, instead of saving them for a Sower of Temptation. I've also got Revelark, which is very good against 5-color control's Wrath of Gods, because it allows me to get anything back that I might need to. Since it's very hard for the deck to recover from a Wrath of God Game 1, Revelark is very important. It's also useful because Doran, even though it acts as a 5/5, is actually a 0/5, so I can return a sort of faux 5/5 with Revelark. I can also return Tide Hollow Sculler and Gaddock Teague for even more disruption. My last 2 spots are Runed Halo. Runed Halo, I didn't really know any other cards to put in the sideboard for this deck, so I chose Runed Halo because it's decent all around. Against red deck wins, I can name Flame Javelin or Blightning or Demigod of Revenge or Banefire, anything like that to help protect myself. While against 5-color control, it's a lot more useful because I can name Cruel Ultimatum, I can name Broodmate Dragon, and I can name Banefire. However, these last 2 sideboard slots are still they're not stuck in. I might switch these Runed Halos out for something else. I don't really know what I would switch them out for. Maybe I might just put in another Revelark and a Wispmare instead, but I'm not entirely sure. Now I'm just going to hypothesize about which cards in Alara Reborn are going to be good for the Dark Bant deck. The first preview card is Sages of the Anima, which is 3 blue and green for a 3/4. It says, if you would draw a card, instead reveal the top 3 cards of your library, and put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Because this deck is pretty much all creatures, it's a very useful card for this deck, because it allows me to pretty much get an Ancestral Recall every turn, plus filter card quality, as I won't be drawing any useless lands. However, lands are not always useless. For example, if I have a Sages of the Anima out, I will never draw a Treetop Village or a Path to Exile, 2 cards that could be very, very important in my matchups. It's still in debate, but it probably won't make the cut, unfortunately. The next and pretty much last card I know so far is Maelstrom Pulse. Maelstrom Pulse is a 1 black and green sorcery that says destroy target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name. I think this is a very, very, very powerful card for this deck. Against black-white tokens, it can both clear out Glorious Anthem effects and clear out the tokens themselves. For example, if you target a Spectral Procession token, Maelstrom Pulse will kill all the other Spectral Procession tokens on the board. It's also good against really anything else. Against Kithkin, you can name Figure of Destiny and Wizen Sen and clear away their lords and big pumping guys. It's a very, very versatile removal spell, plus it can generate a lot of card advantage, which is always essential. Thank you for sticking with me through this video, and I hope to be talking to you again on this website. I'll see you later, and thank you very much.